This is Frank Demore with the Last Chronicles of Planet Earth. I'm the author of this documentary, which you can get today at my site for free. You can get there by going to this site right here, as you see on the screen. But what I'm going to be doing today is connecting the dots between what President Barack Hussein Obama talked about, the crisis in Syria, and the Syrian gas crisis, if you will, crisis that he was addressing in that speech last night on September the 10th. And I want to connect the dots between some of the news that was not posted or the news agencies failed to connect that the people should know about. What I'm going to do is not only bring in some news articles, I'm also going to tie in what the Lord showed us about these last days so that you'll have a complete picture of what really is important. Obviously, the president who wants to bomb the hell out of Syria. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play two segments from Barack Hussein Obama's videos that he had the speech, and then I will connect the dots for you.
When dictators commit atrocities, they depend upon the world to look the other way until those horrifying pictures fade from memory.
Now, the words that he just said, I'm going to show you, that's what he is doing today. He is absolutely looking the other way. He has been looking the other way. And I'm going to show you in relation to what I'm talking about. But keep this in mind.
But these things happened. The facts cannot be denied. The question now is what the United States of America and the international community is prepared to do about it. Because what happened to those people, to those children, is not only a violation of international law, it's also a danger to our security.
Now, what he is talking about is definitely the truth. It is definitely what's going on is a danger to our security. Here in the United States, as you're going to see what's taking place in Syria, it's definitely a security problem. But it's not the people that you think that is the problem, as you're going to see. Because the rebels who are killing the Syrians, the Al-Qaeda rebels, they are much more dangerous than Assad is ever going to be.
Let me explain why. If we fail to act, the Assad regime will see no reason to stop using chemical weapons. As the ban against these weapons erodes, other tyrants will have no reason to think twice about acquiring poison gas and using them. Over time, our troops would again face the prospect of chemical warfare on the battlefield. And it could be easier for terrorist organizations to obtain these weapons.
Now, there's no doubt in my mind that what he said here is the truth. But the part that he is not telling you is that the people who are going to end up with these weapons, either way, if Assad is taken out, who's going to have the weapons? You're going to have the Al-Qaeda-backed U.S. troops. Al-Qaeda troops. They will have these weapons. And if Assad stays in power, he'll still control the weapons. And one of the things that are never pointed out, and the reason why it's not pointed out, is because most of them don't know what the Lord has shown us before it actually takes place. And everything that's going on now in Syria is really has to do with the nation of Israel to fulfill two prophecies. Number one, the Psalm 83 prophecy, which I'm going to show you, and also the Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39 war, of which God talked about. But the events that we're listening to the president talk about, they're not leading just to the Syrian problem. They're leading much, much farther than that. They're talking regional war. This is what we see in the scriptures, regional war, with Syria, no doubt, playing a major role in this conflict. Let me continue.
And to use them to attack civilians. If fighting spills beyond Syria's borders, these weapons could threaten allies like Turkey, Jordan, and Israel.
All right, so now he's getting to a very good point. because there's no question that there is going to be war. There's no question that this war will spread beyond the borders of Syria. We know this for a fact because it is written in the Bible. The Lord showed us exactly what was going to happen. If you read the entire Psalm 83, you would know the very people who are going to attack. And this is what I'm trying to bring to light, that most of the people around the world don't have a clue about. They just go about their business thinking that, well, these are the countries involved in wars like they've always been since my father was alive and his father was alive. This is just another one of those wars. It is not. Don't believe me, believe what the Lord shows us. This, what we're seeing, is not an event that we have seen in the past. It is leading to much bigger ramifications. A major prophecy, major prophecies. In Isaiah 17:1, Jeremiah chapter 49, the destruction of Syria, and beyond that, the trying to destroy Israel by troops that hate Israel and trying to destroy Israel, of which Al-Qaeda is all about. And Barack Obama is supporting these troops. You hear him say about what I'm talking about, and I will point that out in that part of the speech when he comes to it. Now let me move to the next portion of his speech so I can connect the dots there, and then I will tie in for you the news.
Many of you have asked a broader question. Why should we get involved at all in a place that's so complicated and where, as one person wrote to me, those who come after Assad may be enemies of human rights?
Alright, so what I need to point out now is the question about human rights. When he said that the people who come after Assad may be those obviously opposed to human rights. And it isn't a case of maybe. It's a case that that's what will happen if the Al-Qaeda-backed people take out Assad's government. Because the Al-Qaeda group, the ones that the United States have been fighting in Iraq, fighting in Afghanistan, and other parts of the world, and where the drones are being sent over, for example, in Pakistan to take out the leaders of Al-Qaeda, but the United States is supporting these troops to try to take Bashar al-Assad out of the program so that he's no longer the head of the regime, the Syrian regime. And so it's not a question of maybe these troops will be worse. They are going to be worse. Now, let me continue on and I'll connect the dots.
It's true that some of Assad's opponents are extremists.
Well, thank you very much, President, for the first time since I've been watching you to tell us the truth. They are extremists. And Mr. President, you know that's exactly what these people are. And you are backing, or at least you're trying to back, the very people who want to go in to not only take out Assad, but the very people who said that once they remove him, they are going after the nation of Israel. And what I said before about Ezekiel chapter 38 and Psalm 83, it's all about Israel. It's not just about Syria. It's not about the United States or about anyone else. It's about prophecy coming into focus. The people who are going to fulfill these prophecies are coming into play. They're emerging for the last days. And we are going to see shortly these prophecies be completely fulfilled. Let me go on with his speech.
But Al-Qaeda will only draw strength in a more chaotic Syria if people there see the world doing nothing to prevent innocent civilians from being gassed to death.
All right, so prevent innocent civilians. Well, this is what's happening in other places right now in Syria that the president is not even saying anything about. He hasn't said anything about it. Just like he hasn't said anything about the Iranian pastor who has been taken and has been in prison for a very long time because he wanted to help people out, but he hasn't done anything to get the Christian pastor out. And the same thing is happening in Syria with these groups, these Al-Qaeda groups, that are going to try, and they are working right now, and they are doing this right now, as you're going to see. They are going to convert everybody to Islam or die. You talk about freedoms, and you talk about responsibility to stop an aggressive enemy, to stop those that are trying to kill off freedoms. Mr. President, you addressed nothing about this.
The majority of the Syrian people and the Syrian opposition we work with just want to live in peace, with dignity and freedom. And the day after any military action, we would redouble our efforts to achieve a political solution that strengthens those who reject the forces of tyranny and extremism.
All right, so let's get this straight. What the president is telling us is, if you read the plans or if you heard the plans on the news agencies, he wants to go in and bomb the hell out of Syria for a period of like 48 hours and just throw in these missiles, these cruise missiles, all over the place and wipe out. God only knows how many people he would wipe out, and many of those people would no doubt be innocent civilians. People who don't want to take part in either fight. They just want to live their lives. But yet, Mr. President, you're showing us, or at least you're trying to convey to us, that you want to go in there, attack these people, bomb the hell out of them, and then the very next day try to sit down and have peace, negotiate with these people. Are you out of your mind? I mean, seriously, Mr. President, if this is your philosophy of making peace, you should not be in office. Bombing somebody, then the next day say, "Oh, we want to make friends with you." Give me a break.
Finally, many of you have asked, why not leave this to other countries or seek solutions short of force? As several people wrote to me, we should not be the world's policeman.
Now, that is absolutely the truth. We should not be in this area. And let me tell you why. Now, I was asked, and I said this a couple of days ago, by people, said, "Frank, what would you do if you were president of the United States?" And this is exactly what I would do, knowing what the Bible has to say, and I want to put everything in the Lord's hands. So if I was the president of the United States, I would go over to the United Nations, where all the presidents and all the leaders of all of these countries around the world are sitting. And I would say, I want every single one of the representatives for your countries to stand up who would go into Syria with us when we go. And when nobody showed up, like we've seen happen, when the president was trying to gather support, obviously it was just the French, and we know what they did in Iraq when the war got too heated for them. They backed right out, so the United States was there primarily alone with the brunt of the force there. And so I would say, if you don't want to go, Mr. President, I'm sitting down, because nobody wants to take care of the problem and let it resolve itself. And you know what's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen. Prophecy is going to be fulfilled. And you know how? Well, obviously, if Al-Qaeda wanted to go in, and they're not going to stop. I assure you that they're not going to stop trying to get Bashar al-Assad out. There's a reason for it. They want Syria under the control of the Islamic law, Sharia law, under their control. So that their people, once Assad is out of the picture, their directive, their main goal, and this is what people aren't saying, their main goal is not Syria, it's Israel. And we know that. How? Because Syria is involved in the Psalm 83 war. Let me show you. As you can see from this list of people who are going to be fighting in that war in Psalm 83, you have Syria right there. So that tells us no matter what happens, whether Al-Qaeda is defeated or whether Assad stays in office, Syria will attack Israel. That's a given fact. This isn't a maybe, like the president was talking about. This is for sure. 100% sure. The Psalm 83 war. Syria is going to be involved in that war. And probably the igniter of this war, the way I see things happening right now. All right? So, now in relation to extremists that the president was talking about, you notice that he said that many have asked the broader question, why should we get involved at all in a place that is so complicated? And whereas one person wrote to me, those who come after Assad may be enemies of human rights. And again, not maybe, they are. And again, I'm going to emphasize this. The president even said it is true some of Assad's opponents are extremists. They're Al-Qaeda people. The president knows about it. Now let me show you a little bit of the extremist. Maybe, come on. I'm going to show you a little bit example of this. Take a look at this. It's now the people, the rebels, the United States, the president wants to bomb the hell out of Syria, who's supporting the rebels. These are the very people who are going into villages and killing people that do not agree with their persuasion, do not agree with their religion, do not want Sharia law. Let me give you an example here.
Reporting that this shows Syrian rebels executing soldiers loyal to the regime of Bashar al-Assad.
Not the first time we've seen such videos. Now, the Times says it was shot in April in Erbil and was smuggled out by a former rebel commander who was disgusted himself by the violence in his own country. We're going to show you a portion of the clip. Obviously, not the moment of the executions, but we will warn regardless. And of course, it's extremely disturbing even to watch the prelude.
يوم بيوم ودم استحقاقه. عمرو البلوك اسكت.
What you see at the end there is the bodies being dumped unceremonially into a well. Atika Schubert's in London been looking into this. Atika, as I say, unfortunately, it's not the first time we've seen such execution videos. What do you know about these people and their motivation in this case?
No, it's not the first time at all. We've seen other videos, but this is one of the clearest, frankly, most cold-blooded videos we have seen of this type. According to the New York Times, the man who is in charge there, and you see him there holding a gun on the side of the screen, is a rebel commander, Abdul Sama Isawi. And he's somebody who, according to the New York Times, controls several hundred armed fighters, doesn't seem to be allied with any particular jihadist cause.
But these are the same people, the exact same people that Barack Obama is supporting, whether he wants to tell you or not. This is what we're facing. These are the people who, Mr. President, are taking freedoms away from people who want to worship the way that they want to worship. Now, this isn't the only case here. And you'll see that for those of you that are watching the video, what I did for you is put up the link so that you could see the link. Let me go over to that. Now, this is another one of the cases that I wanted to show you that I put up a couple days ago, but I wanted to bring this all together so that you get a real good picture of what is happening in Syria with these rebels. They're extremist rebels. Don't let the President of the United States convince you otherwise. The people who want Bashar al-Assad out are working with Al-Qaeda. They're working with Iran. They want this area. Now, this is a group of people. Many of the soldiers that were fighting with Assad, and they were captured, and now they were given an ultimatum. Either you convert to Islam or you will be killed. And this is what this video is all about. So I'll play just a little section of it. You've probably seen some of it. I'm not going to waste a lot of time, but I just want you to be familiar that these things are going on, and Barack Obama hasn't said, or anybody in his administration has said anything about such acts as we're seeing in the news. Now what you're seeing here is that one of these leaders, they're giving instructions to these captives. And they're giving them pamphlets about Sharia law, Islamic law. This is This is forms that they have to fill out saying that they will abandon their theology and that they will follow exactly what these terrorists want them to follow. In other words, strict Islamic Sharia law. Again, Mr. President hasn't said anything about this. You talk about security, not only in the region, but if these people get the hold on this region and in Syria, they are not going to stop there at all. They're going to spearhead going down to Israel. And let me tell you something right now, whether you believe it or not. The United States isn't going to take care of this problem. It won't be Russia who takes care of this problem. And it won't be China who takes care of the problem. It will be God who is going to handle the unrighteous enemies who wants to destroy and kill. And we need, as I said before, to be praying for the enemy because they do not know what faces them in the near future. Now, you just saw one of the videos where these extremist rebels that are trying to oust Assad just arbitrarily shot these people to death. They didn't want to turn over a leaf to Sharia law in Islam, so they were blatantly killed. And it's not the first time, as I said, that this has happened, as I showed you in this other article. But when you take a look at the article that I posted back in 2012. The Syrian rebels seized the territory north of the Golan Heights. Now in this, I pointed out this is one of the statements that were made by these groups that President Barack Obama is actually supporting. Israel has not formally taken sides with the Syrian conflict, and in some quarters there are fears that a more hostile Islamic government may succeed the Assad regime. Now, this is exactly what the President Barack Obama said yesterday in his speech. Now, the military officials said the rebels in control of Quneitra are members of the radical Salafist faction calling itself Eagles of the Golan. So you have all of these factions that are under, different umbrellas, if you will, but actually they're all got the same goal, and that is Islamic law. Islam, propagation of Islam. And if you don't, be killed. Now, the group, made up largely of foreign fighters, including Al-Qaeda militants from Iraq, which the United States was fighting, boasts that once it has ousted the Assad regime, it will, now get this, it will focus its attention on Israel. This is what I've been telling you. It is not about Syria. The main goal is to take out Israel. They said it. They've said it over and over again, and this is just one of the examples that I've posted many, many times over the past year, that this is their goal. So now you can see why Syria is listed as one of the people that are coming against Israel in the last days. And look at, you got the Philistines, the Palestinians, the Hamas, the Fatah, and the Hezbollah, and the Gaza Strip. They're all mentioned here. All of these factions are giving support to the rebels, of which Barack Obama is supporting, and he wants to bomb the moderate president in Syria. It doesn't make any sense. Now, as far as the president's assertions about these chemical weapons, there's an article, and I have the link there for you. It says, evidence shows that the Syrian rebels behind the chemical attack. And when you read this, I'm going to leave this up at my website with the link. You'll see that when they went in to test, it said that the agents that were hurting or killing these people, it wasn't sarin gas. It says evidence also indicates that the attack involved the lacrimatory agents, not nerve agents, and that the deaths were caused by suffocating of chlorine based gas injected into the warhead. And the significance of this information, as noted by the antiwar.com, is that it is not the sort of weapon Syria has in its arsenal, rather that it is a lower tech. So, now the issue goes back to, we were told back when the President Bush was in office about these weapons of mass destruction, which they didn't show up. So we have conflicting reports of exactly what is in those canisters that were killing the people in Syria. And according to this article, you'll see it says the reports that the chemical weapons attack in Syria's Aleppo province last week provoked leaders and the politicians, particularly in the West, to advocate more fiercely for the overthrow of the Assad regime, despite the vague details surrounding the attack. It says current data seem to suggest, however, that it was not the government forces behind the attack, but rebel forces. Now, do we have anything to go on even to believe this? Well, let me give you an example. The Al-Qaeda, the Palestinians, when they are being fought against by, for example, Israel, when Israel's been attacked and they had to respond, they place their armies, they place their rockets that are fired in Israel. Where do they place them? They place them in mosques, they place them near hospitals, they place them in school areas, they place them where kids are. They don't care about their own people. They know that when these attacks go against Israel and Israel responds, they are going to take out the areas of where these innocent people are, and these rebels, these Al-Qaeda backers, do not care who gets killed, because they only have one agenda. That agenda is to install Islam and to get rid of Israel. So we do have evidence, if you take a look at past wars and past conflicts, of what the rebels are doing. Now, I do have the links from Obama's speech, as I said here. Now let me go in to show you some tie-ins to the Ezekiel War, because I mentioned Ezekiel War. And keep in mind, Israel is always at the forefront of everything that's going to go on in the Middle East. Now, listed, and you'll get this information in my book, but listed in Ezekiel chapter 38 are the very people who will be coming against Israel in the last days. And for the sake of time, I just want to show you that Russia is going to spearhead this attack. Right? Now, we know that in the Old Testament, for example, you'll see it down here in Africa. It would be Libya, and it's on this area over here. All right? So which was Libya, a modern-day Libya, back in the Old Testament, it combined Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria, but they were all one group of people. And so I want to show you that, of course, the Lord told us that Russia is going to attack. They're going to be coming from the north, trying to eliminate Israel. They are going to take the Islamic nations with them, as you see all here, Turkey and Iran, that is coming from this area, which is, they didn't have it on this map, but the arrow, but the Iran is over here, that they will be coming from this direction as well. Now keep in mind, Libya, Tunisia, and Morocco, and I'm going to show you why, is because there's an article, it says either you convert to Islam or you will be beheaded. Now, this is an article that just came out. Let me show you this article. Here's the article, and I have the video there for you. But when you go to the link, you'll be able to upload that video, and it will play. And what it shows you is these rebels going into a village, a Christian village, killing as many people as they could possibly kill. It says the village in Malalua has been taken over by the Syrian rebels. These are the people, obviously, that the president doesn't want you to know about, although he did say that some of them are extremists. These are extremist people, no doubt. Now, the Syrian rebels associated with who? Like I said, Al-Qaeda, have stormed the Christian center and offered local Christians a choice. Now, you talk about security, Mr. President. Look at this. Conversion or death. And what do you think is going to happen? And what do you think that's already happening in Syria? I've already shown you some of the results of that they're going in, they're capturing people, and if they don't convert, they kill them. They cut their head off or they shoot them right in the head. You talk about security, Mr. President, and you don't say anything about the Christians being killed in Syria. A resident of the local town said that the rebels shouted Allah Akbar as they moved through the village and proceeded to assault the Christian homes and churches. And the president is silent on this. Should be outraged. The United States should be outraged that the president of the free world is not saying one thing about this happening. But yet he wants to support these people. Now I want to show you who's involved in here. It says the rebels who took over the city associated with Nasr Front and Al-Qaeda associated Islamic group. Now get this. Villagers reported foreign dialects ranging from, take a look here, Tunisia, Libya, Morocco. Are you getting the picture? Tunisia, Libya, Morocco. What does the Bible say about who's going to come down? Look, Libya, Tunisia, Morocco. Do you think that it's about Syria? It's not about Syria. It's all about Israel. Do you think that the people who are supporting these groups, these Al-Qaeda groups, these Islamic groups, give a damn about Bashar al-Assad? They don't care about him. They want to get rid of him so that they can get closer to Israel. Develop the whole region so that they'll have a unity, a confederate nation to come against Israel. This is what the Lord told us in the last days. This is what he said was going to take place. And the same people that are moving in are the same people that are shown to us in either Ezekiel chapter 38, as you see here, or in Psalm 83. Now, what part of the picture don't you get? Mr. President, you said that you're a Christian. You've been going to the Pastor Wright's church for something like 25 years. And you mean to tell me you don't know anything about Psalm 83 or what's going to happen or the attempt to Israel? Mr. President, it's apparent that you don't have a clue or you know, and you're backing the Islamic people because you're Muslim. And you want, you don't care about the Christians who are dying. You want to propagate your Muslim faith. That's what it appears. And I hope I'm wrong, but outward appearances and reactions show us a lot. And so if you continue to say nothing about the atrocities that are going on in Syria, with the freedoms being taken away from the Syrian people, all kinds of Syrian people, whether they're in Syria or fighting against Syria, either you obey or you die. And if it doesn't stop there, where do you think it's going to stop? It's not going to stop. Only God will stop it when they come down to try to take out Israel in this attack. And then the rest of the people who get upset after they see their allies being destroyed, the Islamic group, based in, obviously, with those Islamic nations in Psalm 83, are going to try to take them out. God help us all. We need to know the word. Now you know.